Kyle in there.
He threatened about how much he can eat, apparently.
That's such a lie. He can't out-eat me. He's such a, I remember last time I went to the buffet, he had more plates, but they're all small. He didn't fill them to the brim like he says. He's such a liar. And every time I get pizza, he's like, you ate that all by yourself? Like, he says that every time, but he's like, oh, I just choose not to eat it. That's such bullshit, I guarantee you, so I'm excited. But then even then, he's already covered for himself. Oh, I don't want to do it on my birthday. Oh man, I don't know what episode number. Oh yeah, I do. I think it's 229.
229.
Yeah, it is 229. Are we ready to go, folks?
Are you sure it's not 230?
No, last episode was 220. I've created a new system that every time the last episode I don't change it until next time I look. So it was 228, 229.
Smart
stuff. I guess I should record our voices. That'd
typically
probably be a good idea. I put that more to you guys. My voice can carry. We ready to go?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
And welcome to the 229th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I'm the Wreckin' Travis now. I had a different one, but I forgot, so I'm just going with that.
I'm the Adam Hartcast for Dylan Lewis.
I'm the Jessica with 3 S's.
See, I don't know if I get that one.
No,
What's that? Is that a reference to the movie?
Yeah, yes. When she says her name, she's yes with 3 S's.
Right.
I don't think I even heard that.
I don't think I heard it, but I was looking at IMDb and then I saw that the name was spelled with a lot of S's. So.
I was going to say, are you
sure it's not more than 3?
It's 3.
Okay. Could be 4 though.
Okay, well then, if it is 4, I'm Jessica with 4 S's. Whatever she is in the movie.
Wow, well if you haven't guessed by our nicknames, then you probably
They probably did not.
Well, I said Wreckin'. That's pretty
Yeah,
easy. That's pretty Taylor-ish.
This movie is actually breaking.
True, Wreck-It. He doesn't wreck too much.
He wrecks a lot of things, but
he breaks the internet. Because we are talking about Wreck-It Ralph.
Ralph breaks the internet. Wreck-It Ralph 2. Some housekeeping. What did we do last week?
Oh, Fantastic
Beasts. Yeah, we did that. So if you want our thoughts on that, go listen to that. I'll be doing a Creed review at some point. I think there'll be a Green Book review. There may be there's going to be for sure I don't even know what the movie's called. Kurt Russell has a Santa Claus movie premiering this Friday. Taylor and I for sure joining it. Are you joining us, Dylan?
I don't know, maybe.
So Dylan's maybe there, but at some point there's going to be a review for this Kurt Russell Santa Claus movie. I don't know what it's about, but
Santa Claus.
Well, I know, but what's different about this one other than just being Kurt Russell? And then next week will be our the Game Awards productions. We're gonna do that, and then the week after will be a Game Awards watch along. But I'll be doing Mowgli alone because the rest of these guys will be smashing it up. So
much smash.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's 2 weeks away. That's very exciting to me.
Yeah.
Is this the Summit?
No,
like the new game.
The new
Oh.
game.
Summit was last weekend. It was pretty good.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm behind on the Smash times.
They did a skit this year. I haven't seen Whiplash, but you know that scene where he's like slapping him in the face and he's like, you gotta be on tempo and stuff. They did like a skit on that, and it's pretty comical. It's pretty good.
You should watch the movie.
It is a good movie.
You should watch the skit.
Okay.
When you watch the skit, I'll watch the movie. The skit is 2 minutes. So
I'll watch the skit.
You probably won't get it, but maybe you'll have some fun watching it.
But you do get, so yeah, that's lots of reviews happening. That's what you get. You get lots of reviews happening the next 2 weeks. And Wreck-It Ralph 2. I don't like that. It's called Ralph Breaks the Internet. I keep saying Wreck-It Ralph 2. But Ralph Breaks the Internet. We are here to review it. We will do a non-spoilers, our likes and pros and recommendations. Then we'll talk about spoilers. Yeah, this is no Fantastic Beasts or Avengers Infinity War where there's nothing huge to spoil. But still, if you don't want to, get some certain scenes described to you or some moments, then you can tune out. So we will let you know before that. Dylan, what do you think about this movie?
Yeah, so we were in the movie theater yesterday, and there was a kid who was pretty loud, and this kid made a couple comments. They said,
"Are you talking about me?"
You are usually pretty loud. I heard you laughing over there. I've decided now that I sit farther away from you because I feel like sometimes you're too expressive, and it takes away from my experience.
I will
particularly if you are disliking a movie, I find that it wears off on me, and I can feel like that. Like if you're sitting to the left of me, the left side of my body is disliking the movie more than the right side of my body.
It's funny. I've done the exact opposite though. That I'm starting to change it now. So even for Halloween, there was some stuff where I was gonna make a big deal about it. I'm like, Okay, just simmer down in case people are
Well,
liking
you can
this, so.
you can do it, and I'm just gonna sit a few spots away.
You can. I'm just saying I'm working on that. So then, and no one's gonna know Poker Face eventually. They'll think I love movies.
And I guess there's that thing where if just the two of us go to a movie, I just
might be a little awkward.
It might be a little awkward.
Yeah, just make good movies and that won't be a problem. You know?
Yeah. Anyway, so this kid in the theater said a couple of comments. One was, "This movie is so sad." And the second comment was, "I love this movie." And you know what? I think that kid's onto something. I completely agree. And to elaborate on what that kid said, so this movie is so sad. It is a very emotional movie for like your two main characters, and the connection between them, the relationship is strained, and it's pulled in some interesting directions, and it's really well done. It's a lot of fun. And then, you know, I love this movie. I really do love this movie. I had so much fun watching. Like, there's so many interesting sequences and scenes that I'm just so excited to break down in the spoiler section. I had so much fun with that aspect of it. And, you know, really like tasteful use of cameos. Obviously there's a lot of that in the first movie as well, but some of those like play into some really interesting scenes as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I was really expecting, because I just watched the first Wreck-It Ralph 2 days ago. So
for the first time?
For the first time, yeah. For some reason, it just always slipped through my fingers. I didn't actually know it was about video games until like a year or two ago, I guess. That's probably why I didn't watch it. But I really enjoyed it, and I liked that this movie, like, it starts out pretty simple, but as it goes along, like, it really does some interesting things with the characters. So I was a pretty big fan of that. And then also, like, this year, you know, it's kind of been a disappointing year. Like, there's a lot of bad movies this year, you know. Obviously,
It's been a great year.
For you know, the Golden Geeks, our award show we do, you know, we have all sorts of categories, and let's just say that my worst film category is the most stacked this year.
Really?
There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of pretty bad movies this year, but the stuff that is shining through and is really good is pretty much just the comic book movies. So I like that this is like some nice variety in the year, because there's a lot that has let me down this year, and this was a nice thing to kind of switch it up. And I don't know, I'm really happy with this movie. I think that's pretty much all I had to say. I definitely recommend it. You know, it's just a good time from start to finish. It'll have you laughing. It'll have you, you know, I don't know if it'll have you crying, but it'll push you in that direction. And yeah, it's just a really, really good sequel. Like, it just does new and interesting things with the characters, and a lot of fun little side characters that, you know, just like in the first movie, but just some new ones that are really enjoyable. So yeah, big recommend from me.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, you recommend this to people?
I would recommend it. It's one of those movies, kind of the same. I went in not really sure what to expect, except for the fact that I absolutely hated the name, because it should be Ralph Wrecks the Internet, but, you know, here we are.
Interesting that they had a joke of that in the trailer, but not in the movie, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I think they specifically made that just for the trailer. Yeah.
I like that. I like when movies do that.
Nice.
I did not hear this kid talking about
You didn't? The kid was pretty loud.
I wish I had heard him. Apparently he was onto something.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie. There's, you know, some jokes that didn't quite land, but there was some that I actually laughed probably harder than I should have. And, I mean, we can get into that more when we kind of talk about spoilers.
There's one sequence in particular that's great, and I
God.
cannot. It's definitely a Golden Geek best scene, at least to talk about. It was fantastic, especially as a podcaster.
So, yeah, I think that it is fun to watch. The way that they do throw in a lot of little, you can't even really call them Easter eggs, because, I mean, you're going into the internet, you expect to see all these things, but, you know, looking for all these different things, you're like, oh, hey, you know, I know that, I've been there. It's just, you know, it's kind of fun. So, almost in the cameo side, but there's also just the, kind of the relatability of it, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
You get some good character development, which is nice as well. And it's an emotional roller coaster through that development. Overall, though, I think it's a good movie. I think that it will be good for kids, but it'll also kind of have something to, you know, if you're taking a kid or you want to just go on your own, it's got elements that will keep older generations entertained as well. So I definitely do give it a recommendation.
Yeah, to jump off that point, it reminds me of a lot. We were talking about, I guess, a couple weeks ago, but like the first Shrek. You know, when we were talking about how it's a movie that kids and adults can watch, because the first one I felt
it has layers.
It has tons of layers. It
like
is
an onion.
like the internet, just too many layers.
Too many layers.
But yeah, so the first one, obviously, it wasn't basic, but it was more basic as they're dealing with this guy in a video game. The first one feels basic now when you think about it compared to this one, because this goes obviously in the depths of the internet. And my favorite thing about this is obviously me and Dylan, notorious Incredibles 2 hater, and when we talk about Finding Dory, and you think about sequels like that, or even something like Anchorman and Zoolander, like sequels have a tendency sometimes you can get something like The Dark Knight that just builds upon stuff, or you can get repetition or just variations of the same joke. This one, there's maybe like a few things. There's not going to be anything huge going to be really happening, but it's not predictable in the sense I didn't feel I knew it was coming every time. There's certain times where they set up a plot line like, okay, I know this is going to kind of go, but most of the time it wasn't like it's going to be about one particular video game and it's going to be about them trying to get out of it again. Like it's completely different than the first one. I'll give them that. Other than I'd say like the first 15 minutes movie is pretty similar to the first one.
I felt like it was, in case you hadn't seen the first one, it was kind of pandering to both audiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring you back into the world.
Yeah, and then once they go, it's not a big spoiler, once they go into the internet, it just feels like this whole open world, and I said this on Twitter, I said this to my friends, people have been recommended to, I feel like it's the best Disney sequel animated-wise since Toy Story, because Toy Story was always good at that every movie was about something different and a different theme, and this is a much different theme than the first one, but it still has roots of the first one as far as their relationship. The other thing is that I really worried because the trailers to me didn't show much story, so I thought this was going to be a very basic, just kind of more comedy field one. Mm-hmm. There is the emotion, but the other thing I was worried about is I thought they were going to rely on the IP a lot with like the princesses and Star Wars and Avengers. I thought they were just going to just fill that up with like, oh, look at this, but it's used sparingly. When it's actually for plot points and for character moments, or there is some fun, like obviously you've probably seen the princesses skits in the trailers, but like that stuff's used really well and it doesn't feel out of place in the movie the way they set up all this introduction. So that was great. Voice acting's great. It's a beautiful movie. I'd highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I'd say my only cons were that beginning portion where it was like kind of a reminder. Lots of the jokes weren't hitting for me. It reminded me of the exact way I felt about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like the first 15 to 20 minutes, I was liking it, but I was like, oh, I really do not like this. Where now I ended up liking it more than the first one. Or on par, I'd have to watch them because I like them for different reasons. But whether you're a gaming fan or whether you just use the internet, like, yeah, there's some specific jokes that even have to do if you're on it a lot more, but just the way they handle the way the internet works and how you travel to different sites and things like viruses and pop-up ads, it was just clever and really smart, which was, I was surprised because I found that we got a little skit before the movie with the directors, which was not that funny.
It was terrible.
So it's sometimes strange how maybe they didn't write that. Oh yeah, maybe they didn't write that, but if they did, it's strange how someone can write something so cringy, but then like in the movie everything feels very well thought out, from everything to, like I said, the sites to maybe even they go to certain locations of the web. Like, it's not a big spoiler, but one moment they go like the dark web, and that's it's really thought out. And then they even just add random Disney stuff in there and just their humor. So yeah, it was a great movie, and we got some. I can't wait. Golden Geeks is always my favorite time when we do that in January. And we got some heavy hitters to talk about this year, because on the reverse, I haven't even filled out my worst movie category. I only got 4.
I'm overflowing.
Oh, wow, I'm excited to talk about that. But yeah, this one definitely is going to be in some categories for us, so I'm very excited. I would highly recommend it. I definitely recommend watching the first one first, obviously, but I can't. This is a duo that I can't wait to watch start to finish. I think some sequels you could watch them and they kind of have nothing to do with each other, but to watch this back to back, I'm very excited to do that. So, anything else non-spoiler you want to say?
I had one more thing I forgot to mention in my overall is that we've had a couple video game movies this year and we had a couple last year, and I mean they've kind of been disasters so far, but I feel like this movie more than any of those I actually felt like it was made by people who have played video games or are in the gaming world, and that was pretty nice to see. I mean, obviously those video game movies are more just like trying to take the story and turn it into a movie as opposed to actually having video game elements in it, but I think maybe that's a mistake on their part, and I like that this movie touches on that. Obviously the first one does a lot more because that's what the premise of the first movie is, but I really enjoyed that aspect. I guess of both of them because I just watched the first one a couple days ago as well.
Very nice meta humor and well done humor. So, 3, 2, 1. If you didn't want to get spoiled by any sequences in this movie, like I said, it's not going to be anything like, Tony, I don't feel so good. But I'm sure if you enjoy this movie, then you don't want to be spoiled. If not, you can come along for the ride. But if not, we'll see you another time. Where do we want to start off with this this bad one?
Yeah, this bad one.
I don't know why I said that. I mean, bad is like a compliment. Like, that's a bad one,
Yeah, I don't know exactly where to start off on this one. You know what? Let's just start off with that very best scene because I love that scene so very much. There's a section of the movie where Ralph and Vanellope are trying to locate a car, so they go into this online racing game to find this car, and they track it down, they find it, and they're kind of like just watching over, and then like these two other players, like online players, come in, and they have like their classic gamer tags. One is like Abraham Lincoln, I forget the other guy, his name was like Dirty Socks or something like that, and they like walk in, they're looking for the car, and it's just like the way that the like character models like kind of glitch around and move like awkwardly and like do like the weird like double jump as they're glitching, and just none of the voices line up with like how they're actually talking. That was my favorite part about this movie because it really just nailed like online games in a nutshell really quickly, and I just thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Well, it's the attention to detail, like that's the best example for the rest of the movie, but the attention to detail, like you said, the part when they're talking and their mouth is not moving, I love that. And just the whole stuff I did, like even when they get killed, like the video game characters have their own conversation. Oh, are we being too hard on them? And, no, like we gotta make them work for anything like that. See, that was not my favorite scene of the movie. My favorite scene was the YouTube comment scene.
Yeah,
because
that's good as well.
One, they just know, which it says a bad thing about our world, that the fact that when he goes in the comments, it's gonna be dread. So maybe Disney's always trying to put in a little message in there. I feel like that's there. It's like try to be a bit better. But I love that scene because it was funny, but it was like emotional at the same time. They hit both chords, but really I liked it for the funniness because just some of the stuff in the background while he's talking. Yes, I almost wish that when they're at the emotional stuff, they panned away from the comments because for a while I just couldn't focus because there's just one line.
They're just scrolling in the background.
Yeah, just also there's my favorite line maybe of the entire year was seeing Ralph in anguish fuels me, and it was just like it was so good, and because all these things, it's funny because in our group chat a couple days ago I posted we got this negative review from somebody that was not a fan of ours. And it's so funny. Tons. But when we do, it's always for the most part. And this one was actually better than others, but it is most time it's just these hyperboles and people that don't really seem like they thought out. They're just mad about something, or they're mad not because about our podcast. They're mad because we gave a movie like a bad review. And from one, obviously, if you watch YouTube and look at comments, you probably know. But as someone like us that's been doing this for 3 years now, that for me was great. But then, like I said, I also tied in. I've heard just being go in the comments and talking to him about that. So I loved that scene. That was a phenomenal scene.
Funny, the part that I laughed at the hardest was not either of those.
Nice.
It was
good movie.
The bee pun. When it says bees.
And she's like, oh, that actually works.
And it still gets me. Well, like, you think he's going to do like a reaction to opening this new toy, and it's just fucking filled with bees, and it's terrible humor, and it got me.
So clearly that was your favorite viral video. What is your favorite viral video?
Yeah, that was mine. For anyone who hasn't seen this movie, there's at one point where Ralph, they need to make a bunch of money, so they go to this website where you can get, likes for his videos, and then that turns into money. And so he just makes a bunch of viral videos. Yeah, I like the goat one as well. That was probably my favorite as well.
There was a goat, there was the burnt pie, which apparently was a big deal.
The first one started off with a blower, like, oh, we're looking at it. And then, what was some other ones? Oh, when he was flossing, like, doing the dance and everything like that. But
there was one like Fortnite dances. A ball or something like that, too, I thought was in there.
Yeah, and that's what I liked because it is that thing in this world where, if you're not on the internet, maybe you wouldn't get it. You'd be like, oh, this is really convenient that he's just becoming a big megastar. But that happens all the time. You never know what's going to catch fire. Like, stuff like we've talked about with Waluigi, but something in the same vein, like Shrek a few years ago was the man of means. And his movies were done, like 5 years old. Like, they weren't coming out anymore. But it just happens that he just came out. And I thought that was a really smart, effective way to, use that as far as the viral video way. But then when they, transferred that into the virus, I like that because it is something that you could see, maybe an anonymous or something like that deciding, okay, we're gonna use some sort of figure. Oh, we're gonna use Ralph from the old game. And that's why, like, for some of the comments were like, who is this? Who is it? Like, why is Ralph even in video games? Like, what is he from? So
Yeah.
I thought it was just top to bottom. All that stuff was really smart and well done. Everything they covered. So
Yeah, that segment in the movie was fire. Like, there was like a half an hour or like maybe 40 minutes of the movie that just like back to back every scene I was loving, just laughing like the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
It was excellent, and it was kind of funny because like the movie starts out kind of basic, like, you know, getting you back in the world, and then
Vanellope's just unhappy pretty much with the game. Yeah.
and then it moves on to like just like kind of like a basic like adventure, like they have to, you know, just go get the steering wheel, and that turns into, oh, you gotta go get this, go get that, and then there's like that segment with just all these like online jokes and different games and stuff like that, humor, and then it like goes into the actual like depth of the characters and like progressing their stories and their characters. And it was interesting because like Vanellope's is takes place first, and it's kind of longer. Like Ralph's story, I mean, he's kind of like the focus in the first one, even though it's both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But his story or like his development doesn't really come up until pretty much like the last like half an hour of the movie. Like obviously it's stuff that's built upon throughout the movie, but I just thought like the pacing and the way they progress from like spot to spot with this movie and what they were focusing on was really well done, and it kept me interested the whole way through, and I didn't really know where it was going, because obviously at first when they're just going to get the steering wheel, like, you know, that's not going to be it. And yeah,
I thought there's a chance it could be it, because sometimes these sequels are very basic. I thought that was going to be their chance that maybe they are
I just thought it was
for a wheel the whole
too
time.
early. Maybe I just thought it was going to be too early in the movie or something.
Yeah.
But it did surprise me with the direction it did take, and it just kept like elevating upon itself.
I would say that she is more of, I won't say the protagonist, I think they share that, but I think it's more of her story this time around. Where the first one is about Ralph accepting, you know, a bad guy can do good, and that doesn't mean I'm bad, or what, you know, whatever his whole slogan is.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he, like, in the first movie, it's like his introduction in his world, and then it takes a while before he meets her, and then they're kind of together the whole movie.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, they split up at one point and go off on their own separate ways for a little bit.
And the first one's just all about him accepting his role and being a good guy, but in this one, yeah, he doesn't have that epiphany of letting her go till last 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the movie or something like that. So I feel like it's more about her and her journey. I liked their kind of spin on Twisted Metal in a way. That's what it seemed like they were going for. I like that. I like Gal Gadot in that role, and that was fun. I like that I like that they still create their own stuff. They could have gone an IP game or something like that, but it obviously is based off Twisted Metal, but it's their own rules in the world. I still like that. It's not, they don't rely on everything being, you know, even like BuzzTube or BuzzFeed. Like, it's clearly supposed to be YouTube, but I like that they can make their own rules.
Competition.
What?
YouTube was the
No, I know, but I mean, like, they just didn't use YouTube as like the main one. It was like a separate one, so I kind of like that.
I like that they mix as well.
Yeah, so
gives them some more freedom for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to jump into next, but I guess Vanellope's story, I thought it was, obviously it kind of starts with like the Disney princess scene that we got, and they showed like quite a bit of that in the trailer, but there were still a couple jokes. And there, I like the joke with Brave. No one really understood. She's from a different studio.
Yeah.
that was pretty clever, and I don't know. That was just like a really interesting segment of the movie. I'm glad that they. I don't know. It was pretty much like the same as the trailer, but they added a couple more jokes on there. But that was like the start of her story, and it was, I don't know, it was kind of funny. How it, you know, they're kind of talking about what's gonna happen next, and how she's gonna find her dream, and like.
Go find some water.
Yeah, go find some water.
Very special water.
Very special water. Sometimes bubbles.
Yeah, and they tackle, and that's where there is that moment where there's musical number, and it's fun, and that's where I get the most reminder of like Deadpool-ish, because it is supposed to be a serious moment where she's talking about stuff that is affecting her, but it's very tongue-in-cheek, and you have characters that are acting very silly.
Demented clowns.
Yeah, so...
I love that song as well, just because of like the meta aspect of it, but it just like fit perfectly in with like any other Disney musical number, and I wasn't expecting something like that in this movie. No way.
And there's no musical number of the first one, correct?
Definitely not.
No,
I mean, there's a couple of songs, maybe the original songs, but nothing where the characters in the world are breaking down and dancing.
Yeah, and I felt that way for most of the time in this movie, but when that scene happened in particular, that was my real light bulb moment of this feels completely different than the first one, and they're going for different stuff, so... I'm trying to think about what else. I think I have to see if that was Bill Hader as the virus guy, but
It was, yeah.
Okay, I loved the pop-up ads. Like that was such a smart
It was,
idea,
yeah.
especially if you've been to Vegas. People legit act like that with just cards of going to shows, stuff like that. They'll be in your face. So I thought that was great, and just things like when you click on the link and they put you in their little box there and you take you to spots. But everything with him was great. The setup, the getting the actual money tokens and whatnot, and then when they go to the dark web and look at that guy's name.
Yeah, and what was his like little brother's name?
What was it?
They did this recurring joke where JG's family was like calling for his little brother.
Wasn't it like Norm or
It was like some regular
Norm
name.
or Gorm, yeah, something like that.
It was too regular, I can't remember.
I thought it was Gary, but it's not
No.
Gary. But
I tried to look on IMDb and couldn't find that particular.
I guess because he
character.
doesn't talk, but he was great. Yeah, other than the actual joke about the guy in his neck, I think they went on a little too long with that one for me. But everything else for recruiting.
Really, I thought it was funny just because of like how intentionally gross they made that character.
Yeah.
He was just like Jabba the Hutt, but with the gross human skin. It was fucking gross, and they nailed it. But yeah, I know I like that segment. It was kind of funny to have just like that as the kind of character who creates viruses or something. I don't know. It just fit really well. It was it was just perfect.
Yeah, and again, they do a smart thing of making the interweb, which is obviously, it's clearly fictional, it's going on in there, I would assume so. But they have some fun, they make it hyper reality, but then they make things like the dark web kind of be like drug dealers and things like that. They give it this like gross kind of filter to it and everything.
Nice imagery
like
for something which is, virtual, right?
No, wow, they actually had like proper voices for.
Oh yeah, I guess
that?
from the movies and whatnot, yeah.
So they actually
yeah,
had
I saw
like
that.
Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear and Vin Diesel as Baby Groot, and
Vin Diesel's Baby Groot.
That was
Still
funny.
getting those paychecks, yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't have actually really expected them to, but I think that's pretty cool.
I wouldn't expect them to like Groot and stuff like that, just because I would think, just because I feel like anybody can do that voice. If there was anyone recognizable, but like the princess.
I mean, they didn't necessarily like bring him in to record lines for this, right? They could just use something from their other projects.
I hope
right?
I hope so for their sake. I hope they didn't have to pay for them. But yeah, is there anything else we want to show? Because I really enjoyed it, but the thing is, I should have mentioned in my non-spoilers that I really want to see it again, because I feel when Dylan's talking about there's a 40 chunk of just so much jokes. At the same point, that's not a bad thing, but it's hard for me to remember because there's lots of good stuff going on. That for me was stuff. I remember lots of set pieces, obviously, and the emotional stuff as far as Ralph. And obviously, like, the ending was something I did not see.
Well, what'd you think of Ralph's story?
I liked it. I think, once again, because he did, I feel, take a bit more of the back seat, but I think it was warranted because the back seat eventually got to his story as far as accepting, letting her go and you can still be friends from afar. And I thought that was done really well. The virus thing took me for a loop, and that was just trippy as hell. That was some Doctor Strange stuff going on.
That was really cool.
That was fantastic. I loved that because that's what happened with this movie. Every time I would expect something to happen, it'd be completely off the wall. And then I thought, okay, they'll have these multiple Ralphs going around. But then when they just formed in this one mega Ralph, and the effect, like when they got him close and you could see all the Ralphs moving around,
Yeah.
I don't know how many hours that must have taken to do that for that team. But it looked flawless and it looked great. And I thought that was fantastic. And they do it in a good way where, yeah, it's about heart and emotion, but if you're not in that, I'm sorry, I guess that's not a movie for you, but the way that he defeats the virus is just talking it down pretty much and kind of getting to the virus's heart and whatnot. And I thought that was a clever way, same as that, and as far as when she was in, was it Slaughterland, or was the actual...
Slaughter Race,
whatever it was, when the virus is looking for inconsistencies. It was a good way to tie
Yeah,
it
that
up
was a
with.
really good transition, and I thought that's just a cool character trait, right, for Penelope, that she just glitches around.
And they use it a lot because obviously when she's nervous, she's glitching and talking a bunch, but I thought that was a good way to make it more of a plot point than just,
and they set up the spread of it too, because the guy said, whatever game you put in, make sure you keep it contained in there, and then obviously to get out of that glitch before they reset it, it breaks through the door, and I was thinking, this is how the virus gets out, and then I didn't know what it would do next, but I thought, I really liked what they did with Ralph as well, pretty much everything you said, but I like that also tied into kind of more something to think about, outside of the confines of the movie, right? It's kind of talking about like, obviously between like social media and stuff like that, there's a lot of room for, people to develop insecurities and stuff like that through the internet, and I like that they tackled that, even though it was subtly. But there was at one point too where the virus is like, he takes the insecurity aspect, which is it's Ralph's insecurity, which is him being insecure, and he's shooting it around at different objects and stuff, and then it kind of like shoots it like right at the screen, and I felt like that was kind of like the meta moment where he was trying to send that message to the viewers, and I thought that was really well done, because it wasn't like really gone into in much detail. It was kind of just like a subtle thing, but whenever a movie can make you think outside, like past the credit scene, I think that's something to honor, and this movie definitely did that, as well as doing everything else. So it achieved a lot in its runtime for sure.
It's a 1-2 punch. But yeah, I think I showed all the scenes I really like. Like I said, I do want to see this one again because I feel like there's so much stuff. You got a good Stan Lee cameo in there I really liked. And like I guess I did talk about too, as far as other than the princesses, I liked how they used the stormtroopers for a little bit. I like how
I thought with bringing the music as well, that was a really fun segment.
Yeah, and that was, it's not something that I want to see more because I feel like you have to handle that with delicacy, and you can't do that because obviously that's a Star Wars movie. But that's exactly what I liked as far as things back in the day with Disney and Disney, was these conjoining of worlds, and they do that portion really well. And
it didn't feel like just fan service either, right? Like it all fits within what they're doing scene to scene. It's just a really, really nice plot device they have going on in this movie, that they can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have a few notes. Well, one thing I like is that there isn't really like a set villain of this movie. It's more like, that aspect of, who is the villain in the internet. It's like, it's the people on it. It's what people choose to do with it. It's even ourselves sometimes. And I thought that was like an interesting aspect of it. The princess section obviously is really good, but I liked at the end too. Ralph is like, after Ralph defeats himself, he's like falling. JG's family goes to catch him. He goes right to the car, and then there's like this scene with all the princesses, like pretty much like a Rube Goldberg machine, all of them doing like one specific task that all helps in him getting like saved from falling. And I really like that. I thought that was just a really clever way to string all these characters and their backstories together. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And
it's them saving the man this time. So
exactly. I like the Ralph as kind of like this King Kong sort of being. Obviously, that was kind of what they're alluding to. And he picks up the girl. Google Tower. That's a funny way to. I don't know. Compare that. Lack of words right now. Let's see. I like that at one point Ralph falls. He's just falling down earlier in the movie, and he falls to like the bottom of the web. It's just like old, outdated things, and there's like a dial-up express. I didn't really catch myself, but it's just like a bunch of garbage, and I thought that was pretty funny. I really like obviously Zangief was in the first movie, but once again he's in this movie. He has like a book club at the end. I thought that was nice. I liked Snarky Sonic as well.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
Wow, that's really deep, Ralph. Duality. I love E-Boy, who was like the eBay alert notifier who kept taking them from place to place. There's a lot of fun little characters in this movie that, obviously they don't like have any sort of development, but they're just like fun little characters, and this movie has a ton of them all throughout. So that's most of my notes here. You got anything else, Jessica?
I've been trying to find that thing's name this whole time, and I really...
Yeah, I couldn't find it either.
It's kind of sad. I would like to know.
Comments. Let us know.
Please let us know.
Yeah.
Please.
So... I'm not 100% sure all what you guys talked about. Not gonna lie, I kind of zoned out trying to find this guy.
Wow. Not cool, Jessica.
You guys were going off, wasn't getting a chance to talk anyway, so it's kind of...
You just said you weren't paying attention!
Yeah, because
there was a lot of opportunities to jump in. At one point I was totally lost for words. You could have totally bailed me out, fellow podcaster, but instead you let me burn the bottom of the web.
Wow.
You should have done a jump, e-brake, backward slide thing. I don't remember what they called it in the movie. How she gets through the burning tunnel.
Power slide, reverse osmosis, something or other, I don't know.
Osmosis. Wow, okay. I definitely got more out of it than I expected I would. I don't think this was touched on. I do like, though, that kind of how she ends up breaking that steering wheel. You okay?
Yeah, I'm looking into the viewer's eyes. I'm listening to you. Yeah.
How she breaks the wheel is, you know, fighting with Vanellope, because you always kind of wonder, you know, they're supposed to be playing these games, but she's saying she's bored of always driving the same track, but wouldn't it be different if, you know, they were actually being controlled? So I did like that they actually touched on the fact that even though the people think they're controlling the games, they're actually just doing their own thing. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of a cool little addition. I did like as well too when they went inside the modem before it turned on, and they're just kind of standing in this big open gray space like this is really freaking lame. So you know, kind of little things like that that you don't necessarily think of at first.
What the heck was that guy's password again? The arcade owner. What was
High
it?
score with a 0 instead of an O.
Yeah.
So good.
Way to go. I'm gonna do that. I can't do it.
Maybe I can't now. Everyone would know. Yeah.
You gotta do a 1 instead of an I as well.
You can't say that out loud.
Then you get a 10 in it, because that's a 10 out of 10
That's
password.
Oh.
Wow.
Whew. Yeah. Apparently, looking online, there are like a whole lot of other Easter eggs.
Oh, I can believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I want to see this again, and I think this would be one of those ones that you would pick out something new every time you watched it, which would be really fun. And you know, I do like too, because although it doesn't necessarily look like a Disney movie, it is. So when they do go into like the Disney website, it's not like these really shoddy animations to not infringe on copyrights and everything. They can actually do the jokes properly and use all the characters freely, which I thought was really cool as well. I did not think that the movie was going to end how it did. I actually did think they were going to go through the firewall and just kill Ralph's virus, and I will say that. You know, the whole character development at the end there, I didn't really expect that.
Did you like that?
I will agree that I like the animation of seeing all the Ralphs like crawling. I don't know, I guess.
There's a butt coming though.
Ooh.
It feels like.
Like, I get what they were going for.
Do you think
I
in
don't
real
know.
world he couldn't have beat a virus? Is that how you maybe feel by just talking to it? Or where's your hang up? Where's your hang up on not being fully on board with it?
Was it too like feel good or?
I don't know if feel good is the right, but it was just kind of like, I don't know, it almost seemed kind of predictable. Like I was hoping that they were gonna go and destroy it, not. It's the Disney thing, right? Everything is worked out through feelings, and you get the emotional development. So you know, had they actually like gone and destroyed the virus, you know, things, unless it's parents, things don't get destroyed in Disney movies. So.
I don't have any counter examples.
Buzz's wings have been damaged multiple times, and Woody lost an arm at one point.
That's not
so.
destroyed, and it was sewn back on, and his
Uh,
Andy painted over at the same time.
Andy.
someone was. All those kids in Sid's room were all destroyed in the first Toy
Boo's
Story.
Door and Monsters Inc. that got destroyed.
Oh yeah, Randall's career.
Incredibles 2.
Randall's
Disaster.
glasses.
Yeah, everything on Randall. Or
Or
Randy.
Randall.
Yeah. If you know anything else, you get to a final rating or final thoughts.
Travis has to go to another movie.
I still have time. I just know I know you don't got anything and I don't got anything and I don't know how
I
much
don't
you
have
got.
any. I don't have any. Oh wait, you mean like anything? I thought they were talking about anything after this. I don't have any.
I like that Ralph uses the Pinterest thumbtack as a weapon. That's fun.
That was good. Yeah.
I like the scene with the eBay bidding, which is like, we just gotta say high numbers, and the guy's face in the background, like holy
That
shit.
was so good. Yeah, when he was just going up by like 25, then when it like went to 10,000, like oh my god, yeah. That's really good. One thing I'll say is like just a little fanboy thing. I don't like that Ralph doesn't use his wrecking powers enough. So at the moment they're trying to steal Gal Gadot's car, I feel like he could just be bopping some people. You know, he has really strong fists. We see him use that at the end of the movie, but
Maybe he's more. Maybe he holds back more when he knows Fix It Felix isn't right in the room.
it's true. He's worried he's gonna wreck it.
Fix
But
It Felix Jr.
oh
Fix It
yeah,
Felix
sure,
Jr. I'm
sure,
so
yeah.
sorry.
Him and his
Is
15
he
kids.
Felix Jr. or is the game called Felix Jr.?
Both. It's Mario, Super Mario World, right?
Boom. There you go.
I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10 just because I guess at the first 15 minutes for me it was kind of welcome back to the world, but I don't know if it could, maybe on a second watch I won't feel that way, but I felt it was like a little slow, and the other thing was just for me, I don't think that it'll change, maybe it will, but it was a lot of the jokes in the beginning were not landing for me. I was really worried. I was just not finding money in them, finding it kind of like, huh. And then, especially when you juxtapose to all the other stuff that I really laughed at and really liked later on. So I wasn't sure if it was just that I felt, if I was worried that they were being too safe or what it was, but I found that first 15 to 20 was a little slow for me. Like I said, the exact same as Ant-Man and Wasp this year, where the rest of that, I loved it. So yeah, a 9 out of 10 for myself. Great movie this year, and I'm excited for the other geeks to see, and then possibly we talk about in January when we do our nominations. So.
I was gonna say, this definitely feels like a movie that, you could do a second review after you've watched it again. You can kind of go back and be like, oh, I noticed this and this and this. I don't know that I'll see it in theaters again before January, but if it perchance happens to appear somewhere in front of me, I will not turn it off.
In the dark web.
The dark web. Just talk to Jabba.
Yeah, I would definitely, if God tier is top tier, I'd put it at like a great tier.
Okay.
It's definitely not amazing. I'm gonna go out and buy it and frame it, steel case if I was Taylor.
Metal case.
But it's good. I'll watch it again. I will definitely be more than willing to get Disney services. Watch it on my Disney
Right.
Oh, I
Plus.
can't wait for Disney
Extended
Plus.
edition.
Give me that Disney Plus.
Extended edition. There we go. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll buy it because I don't buy any movies anymore.
You're gonna get that streaming service though, so.
I will have that streaming service.
Yeah,
because
so you're
there's
gonna
too much content.
You're gonna own it. You're gonna own it. So.
I will own it in one way or another. I've said it all. I love this movie. Please go see it, and then tell your friends to go see it, and then.
Oh, it's
And
gonna
then we'll get a third one.
It's gonna be
And then
awesome.
we'll get another. I'm guessing the first one came out 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I like that as well. That the movie 6 years has passed since the first one, and
Great.
in the story, that's like how much time has passed as well. I think why not? That's cool.
I think it's good and it's justifiable for Vanellope maybe to want to change than her character, right? If it was just a year, a few months, you'd be like, you wanted the whole movie to get racing and now you're racing, so why are you complaining? But now it's been 6 years doing the same thing over, so okay, makes sense. So yeah, maybe another 6 years and...
You have 3 tracks, why do you need more?
Yeah, you already have 3. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. All the links are down below. Come back this week for a bunch of other reviews. For the next few months, we got tons of content. Even January, when you think it's going to be slow, no, we got good stuff planned. We're pre-recording stuff. We got this hot
we don't know how to
stuff.
stop.
And the stuff we have recorded, pretty sure they can get access to it somewhere before January.
On Patreon for $1 you
Patreon.
get half the content. If you want it all $5, you can get movie video game
$5?
previews up there. You can get the Spider-Man retros. You can get the Clone Wars retros. Me and Taylor this weekend we can record some Cantina conversations finally. So we're gonna throw them on there
Other
until
Cantina
December.
Confessions.
No, yeah, that was what you wanted. And we didn't want it. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. When you're from us next,
Throwing the salt.
it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was really short.
Yeah, we've done that lately with, we reviewed Star is Born, which was only half an hour. What else did we review that was only half an hour?
Or Marie was only half an hour. What's wrong with you guys?
We didn't talk too much spoilers, though.
Yeah, we didn't have any spoilers.
The Oscar movie